Willow Creek Springs presents Healthy Living with your host, Joe Grumbine.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm Joe Grumbine, your host, and I'm super happy today. Back in the studio is Erin Wilkins. She's been a guest many times before, and we're so glad to have you back. Erin, how have you been?
Been doing good. Learning new life lessons, which is always great for growth and healing. So
Yeah, it's funny, this whole healthy living thing. I'm getting ready to launch. Actually, this is going to be technically the first episode of our second season. I never really delineated where seasons started and stopped. So I realized I came almost up to 100 episodes and I never started a second season. So I said, well, let's go ahead and do that now. So this is now officially season 2, episode 1. And
woohoo.
I'll go back and rename everybody else, but I just doing a lot of resetting in my world right now. And it's funny, as we're doing this, we're looking at each other, but podcasts are generally audio files. I always have the video just in case I need it to use for content or something like that. But even on YouTube, this shows up as a podcast, so you're just hearing it. But as you are looking at, I got this giant lump on my neck, and I've had it for more than a year. And I'm taking drastic steps to watch it reduce and remove. And eventually, if I have to, I'll get it cut out of me. But we're going at it from every possible direction. And I realized as I'm going through this process that I needed to make a lot of changes. And I realized that a lot of times, like we've talked a little bit about this, problems, regardless of how bad they are, they always have a root cause. And, we can fix symptoms. And even if you have powerful medicine, like I'm working with cannabis oil right now that has done amazing things for many people over the years in my life anyways. And I'm going at it aggressively and I have highest expectations. But the truth is, I don't know if it's going to help or not until it does or doesn't. And sometimes looking at, well, what the hell is causing this thing? Like doctors don't know, and they want to go and poke and prod and, take pieces out. And I just had an argument, or not an argument, but a conversation with a doctor friend of mine who's been a guest on the show. He's like, well, did you get a biopsy? I says, well, here's the deal about biopsies. I go, they're for the scientists. They're not for the patient. Oh, well, they've come so far, this and that. I go, no, you don't understand. The doctor's point of view, I don't want to screw this up. I want to get this right to preserve my reputation. And well, I want to do a good job too. So I'm willing to do procedures and tests that put the patient at risk because it's just procedural. If something goes wrong, well, they know the risk, but it'll help me be the good guy more often than not. And I don't know how many times you've heard about it, but as a medical professional, but I've heard about it as a layman dozens and dozens of times with the people that I've known and worked with, where somebody was going through a diagnosis and figuring out what was wrong with them, and they had a lump or a mass or whatever they were calling it. And there's lots of ways to test to see if something's cancerous, and there's lots of ways to test to determine. And frankly, you can open it up and decide I can't do anything about it and close it back up. There's lots of solutions that don't involve reaching in and grabbing a piece, potentially opening something up that shouldn't be opened and causing something to spread, which I've seen and heard of happen so many times. And when I said that to him, this was my friend, the doctor, I watched him get a little defensive, and I'm like, well, there you go. That's thus my problem. See, remember, I'm hiring the doctor. The doctor didn't hire me. And I don't lose sight of that, just like with attorneys or anybody else. Frankly,
Exactly.
the choice is mine. So through all of this, I'm beginning to record a lot of sessions that go into, well, frankly, I never even introduced myself to this podcast. So we'll go into who I am and where I come from. But a lot of it is going to get into root causes. And as I've been exploring this, I've discovered there's, a lot of just about all root causes ended up coming down to the choices we make and discernment that we use when we make those choices. and what is influencing us when we're making a choice. Are we acting on impulse? Are we acting out of emotion? Are we thinking it through? Are we reaching a goal? There's all kinds of ways to make choices. Most of the time, the choices we make are reactive. We just go through life, and then all of a sudden, oop, we got to do something. What are we going to do? This or that. And I'm going to turn it over to you from there, because I know you and I have both been going through some similar challenges, even though they're completely different. There's always similarities to a challenge, and a challenge generally involves an influence that's positive that you want to protect, or an influence that's negative that you're trying to protect yourself from. And generally it's some combination of those things. So we go along in our life, and all day long we're saying yes, yes, no, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And some of us have a propensity to say yes, and some of us have a propensity to say no. But generally there's some of each in the course of everyday choice making. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think that especially anybody that is a healer or cares about others, or in the healthcare, you're taught to say yes to everything at the demise of yourself.
Right.
And so
I'll help
there's
you.
been, yeah. And I mean, and I've struggled with that a lot of just, of
What do
course
you
I'll help
need?
you. Of course I'll help you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you want to, because you
Yes.
care about people,
And it
but
feels good.
it does. It feels good to help people, and you're watching their growth and their healing. But there's a lot of times that no is one of the most powerful words to say, because, and I've had to do that with a number of clients that have wanted my help. And I've sensed within myself, I'm going through something that I don't have what they need, because I don't have what I need. And
Right.
I've had to take a step back, get my cup full so that it could overflow into them. And I think a lot of people operate on that half cup full. They don't even have what they need. So there's nothing to give anyone.
That's powerful what you just said. These old adages, these little, Kentucky windage sayings out there, they sound cute to hear, but truth is, a lot of them or all of them are based in some kind of real lesson or truth. And
Mm-hmm.
the reality is, you can't pour well from an empty cup. You just
Nope.
can't do it. That's just straight up physics. And when it comes to energy, especially like you talking about with healers, generally there's an empathy, some amount of that happens, which means you're both feeling what other people are feeling. So when you feel somebody suffering, it's almost like you're feeling your own suffering, and of course you want to relieve that, right? If I
Yep.
feel pain, whether it's in my heart or my foot, I don't want that. Like, unless you're one of these people that's into that, which I don't happen to be. And if you are, that's all good. I don't care. Good on you. But you're not going to come to me looking to relieve that pain if that's the thing that's giving you joy. And
Mm-hmm.
and so I think a lot of times, like as an empath, you feel discomfort or suffering for somebody else, and you genuinely really want that to go away. But when it happens to us, without it coming from somebody else, for some reason, we're able to just sort of brush it under the rug pretty easily and go, well, that's cool. I got enough for that, and I'll be okay. And tomorrow is another day, and put on a happy face and all that good stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, and we're taught that, in society, if you have any sort of morals whatsoever, it's like, be kind to others and do unto others. And if you're thinking about yourself, it starts, oh my goodness, you're narcissistic, or you're just caring about yourself. And sometimes it's a balance. Obviously, it's not good to be one way or the other, but there is a balance in there.
Well, and there's
Um,
a place for everything. So,
yeah.
there's a time where it's a good thing to be a little narcissistic. If you're suffering and lacking what you need, then you would then become that most important person for a while. But it doesn't have to
Yep.
be a state of being forever.
Yeah,
It can be
exactly.
a temporary stepping stone and get you where you can help some more things.
Yeah. I think I had a friend, I was speaking to a friend a few days ago, and we were just talking about challenges that life throws at us. And
Right.
he closed the conversation by saying, Erin, I need you to be selfish for a little bit, because you've got to look after yourself so that we can look after the tribe.
Yep.
So That's
Yep.
struck with me.
Yeah, good, good. It usually comes from some outside source when we finally listen, you know. We
Oh,
follow our
exactly.
own bad habits. We don't listen to our mom. We don't listen to our dad. We don't listen to the one we love the most because whatever, right? You know,
Mhm.
you're just saying what you think I want to hear. And it's like, no. But then all of a sudden a stranger tells you, or the person you don't know so well, and you're like, well, why would you tell me that unless it was true? I
Yeah,
don't know where that logic
exactly.
comes from, but I understand it. It's crazy and doesn't make any sense, but I know where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So when you say take care of yourself, all right. I mean, to me, that says make sure I'm getting enough sleep, eating all right, remove some stress, maybe don't do harmful things. I mean, what else? What is in your regimen of take care of yourself a little better?
Those are all amazing things. I think that when we do get stressed or face challenges, we tend to start eating crappy food that's easy to prepare, or losing sleep because the stress is keeping you up. And um, I've been following a rule of give myself permission to not do things.
I like that. I
There's
may borrow
laundry
that
that's sitting
myself.
there. Yeah, there's laundry that has to be done. There's dishes that have to be done. I'm just going to give myself permission to say no,
Yeah.
because I know that within myself, I'm starting to get overwhelmed. And so
Right.
sometimes just taking a break, that doesn't mean that you're going to not do your dishes forever. You'll catch back
Oh,
up with it.
give it a
But
day. Yeah.
yeah, and I was reading this article about this lady who was going through a hard time, and she said that she was always put her dishes like in order all the time, and her laundry always had to be folded perfectly, and she just let herself dump the dishes in the dishwasher in no
Let
particular order,
them fall.
and
Maybe
then
one
just,
breaks. It's
yeah,
okay.
and just throw the clothes all over the folding station, and just let them sit there for a bit. And
Yeah.
she said it was the best thing for her. And then obviously when she felt more healthy and strong, she went back to doing things as she normally did.
Oh,
But
yeah.
sometimes let yourself break those little rules that you have, and it feels
Exactly.
good and it gives your mind a break.
And you don't have to, like, a lot of times people are like, well, fine, then I'm never going to do that again. Right. Well,
Yeah.
okay. Generally, how does that work out for, right? It works
Not
out for a
well.
period of time till your temper tantrum's over and then you forget
Yep.
back to your thing. But what about instead of that, you say, you know what? I'm going to, like you said, I'm going to give myself permission for an undeterminate amount of time to do that, what the heck I want, and I'll clean up the mess or suffer the consequences as they come. And I accept that, maybe there's such a freedom to that, like
Hmm.
all the angst and stress of living generally comes from our own internal boundaries that says I have to do that or whatever, right? Or I
Yeah.
can't do that or whatever, right? And what if you say, well, no more whatevers today, you get a free day with no whatevers, and all of a sudden,
Hmm.
what a freeing moment. Makes you want to run around in circles and touch everything, right?
Oh yeah.
And how good would that feel, and what harm would it really do, right? Even if it's in the clean room that you can't touch anything, well, great, clean it again and you'll be fine, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's seldom, like, there are places where that's not appropriate, but most of us never go to them, and most of us don't have those restrictions in our life. We just put them on ourselves. And I think that's one way of giving yourself permission. And the other side of the coin is, like you were starting the conversation about, is giving yourself permission to not take something on. I As a business person and a person who wants to help people, and when we first started talking about it, I'm like, yes is my favorite word. Let's make something happen, right? And
Hmm.
inside of my spirit, that's true. I want to make things happen. I want to help people raise their dreams up. I want to help people find an answer to their problem. I love that. It brings me joy. And like a little 7-year-old kid exploring, the dinosaur world, whatever it is, that just makes you so happy. That's what that does for me. But it also costs a lot, energy wise. And after I
Yep.
get done, and I'll just share a little story that happened to me. recently, and it gave me the same awakening that you're talking about. I've always, consulted people as they needed in an extreme situation. If they were willing to, lose their inhibitions and come up with a out of the box answer, then maybe we can find one together. So this lady a couple weeks ago approached me, and she was trying to get a hold of some of my products and whatever. We started a conversation, and her daughter's got Lyme disease and going through all kinds of terrible problems. She's got a thyroid issue, exploded in weight, has all kinds of problems. And so I just need some help, this and that. It's like, hey, I tell you what, if you're willing to sit down and work with me, I bet you we could find some answers. And oh my God, so amazing. I can't believe, it was that perfect person. And so we had this great conversation. I says, well, are you willing to journal what's going on? Oh yes, whatever, I'll do it all. Okay. So I sent her out some products. And a week later, I hadn't heard from her. I'm like, yeah, whatever, we'll see what happens. I hadn't put a whole bunch of time into it, but enough that was like, I thought I had something. And I was excited. I got that little boy energy going on, going, all right, we're going to do something really great, the thing I love to do. And then she finally, after a week, she sends me pages of journals. I'm like, oh my God, she's doing it. I finally found, the right subject that will help me and help her. And it's going to be amazing. And she had journaled all the things I asked her to perfectly, and handwriting all the way that tells me this is real. And I said, okay, cool. Then let's do a follow-up, and then we'll begin to record our progress. And I had set a meeting just to have a conversation. And then she goes to me. And I just was like, the letdown from that took so much out of me. I was like, wow, that was so not worth it. I was so excited that I had a person, and I was excited to help them. It was not, what I was going to gain out of it was going to be a little knowledge and experience, but, I was going to help a person have a better life. And I even, patiently waited. I sent a little message, hey, I hope you're okay, and let me know when you want to reschedule. Just never heard a word back. So like now I'm thinking, well, you don't want to know what I'm thinking now, but it was the message in my mind was like, what the hell are you doing, Joe? As I feel this baseball sticking out of my neck, I'm like, what are you doing, Joe? And then I realized I know what I'm doing. I'm just saying yes to everything. So I lit a fire in my life, and now everything is burning, and we'll see what is left. But what that means is that people's words no longer mean anything to me. So if somebody says something, there's got to be an action to back it up, or I just keep walking. And so now no is my first gatekeeper instead of yes. And it makes me sad, and it hurts my heart, and I'm a little, I'm heartbroken right now over it, because it makes my dream not able to live at this moment. But it's also just a moment, and allow me to get better so that I'll be able to do all the things I want. And I'm sharing this just because it's where I just got this literally a week ago as a gift in all of this grief. Was like, hey, wow. And today, as heartbroken as I am, I'm also feel that I'm rebuilding. So I feel my batteries filling up, and I feel that, I'm able to think clearer. I'm under a very intense oil treatment right now, which makes my brain very hard to, it's twice the effort to think and twice the effort to speak. And I had a conversation this morning, and the lady I was talking to said, Joe, I've never heard you be more clear. I'm like, if you only knew what's going on in my brain. But that's what's happening, is you get these unintended benefits when you're girded for battle. Well, what are you carrying into battle? It better be something helpful, either to protect me or to fight off my problems. Otherwise, why am I carrying it? And it's amazing how clear you get when you know where you're standing and what it is that you're here to do or what you're not here to do.
Yeah. And I think that still staying true to you, knowing when to say no. And I think one thing I've realized too is that other people's actions or the things that they say or the things that they do really have nothing to do with us. It's all internal within them. And when someone's a jerk to you or someone ghosts you or whatever, if you realize that's something within them, not us,
that's huge.
It clears everything up, because you don't live in this place of what did I do wrong, or the guilt or the whatever.
No, when you can understand that lesson, and it's a hard lesson because
Mhm.
as healers, we want to bring joy to people. We want you to smile when you see us. And
Mhm.
we want to make you happy, and we want to make you feel good, and we want to make you better. And if we're not doing that, then what could I do different? Like, I
Yeah.
want to fix that. It's my instinct, or I should say it was. And at the moment, I'm like, okay, you got some issues you need to work on now. So if you're mad at me,
Mhm.
and I know myself, that's the thing that happens a lot, which has been very hard on me. And I finally had to realize it, is that it doesn't necessarily matter what you do around a person who's got a problem, because they're not going to see what you do. They're going to see what they see. And you can't convince a person who sees something different from what you did that it's different. You can't. And as much as you want to, it frustrates you, pisses you off, escalates a problem. It's not a fixable problem. So when you realize that, you're like, oh shit, I can't fix this. And then
Mhm.
it's like, okay, well, I love you. I'm going to just accept you for now. And there's just a limit to what I have to offer right now. And we'll just let it be at that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's magical. It's like the frustration of feeling like you're in control and having to have that responsibility of
Yep.
being in control. So if something goes wrong, it's your fault. And then the weight of all that, it's not there anymore.
Yeah. No. It's that whole thing of just learning to get your grip out of things. And I do that. I had a client come to me and she's dealing with potential PCOS and she was wanting to have some help. And so of course I went the nutritionist route first
Yeah,
off.
sure.
And I was just like, I'm going to help her. This is going to be awesome. She's going to have so much health. And then she's like, well, no, I'm not going to stop eating Taco Bell. And I'm like, but it was
Yeah.
like, I just had to let go because
Yeah, I
it's like,
can't help
that's
you
your
then. Yeah,
choice.
right.
Your choice is hurting you, and nothing I can say is going to convince you otherwise.
Exactly. Exactly. But you know what? Now you have that available energy for a person who's better suited for you. And
Exactly.
and that's
Yep.
what I'm finding is as these things have been happening, even people that I love dearly, I've had to say, I can't do this with you anymore this way. I mean, maybe there's another way. We have to find it, but this is not going to continue this way anymore. And I won't I can't. I mean, and so I've got a lot of people in my life going, but wait. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't. It's gonna kill me. And if I die, then what do you got? You got nothing
Yeah,
from and
exactly.
if the only reason why I'm around in your life is because you need something, well, then you need to be alive and healthy. Otherwise, I won't be helpful to you.
Yep.
And that's a very freeing experience because now it's, first of all, I don't care if somebody's upset. Number two, I don't care because I know why. It doesn't have anything to do with me.
Yep.
And and it's not that I don't truly care. I just don't own the responsibility. And that's the part of not caring that is healthy, I think. You can always care about situation and a human without being obligated to intervene.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
that's a big, big lesson for some of us meddlers, as I like to call other people that do
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
So, well, I think that is we're both on a good course. I know that in my world, it's been a few weeks. I went on a mountain trip about coming up on 2 months ago, but a month and a half ago. And I always get clarity when I come back from the mountains. And my message was, you need to prioritize your shit because you can't do everything you're doing the way you're doing it. There's not enough of you. And if you want to fix this, it's got to come from somewhere. And
Yep.
so, okay, so I come down from the mountain and I'm like, all right, you got to go, you got to go, you got to go. I start clearing stuff out. And then I realized once I did that, what I had left had all kinds of problems too. And then I kind
Hmm.
of realized that all my business partners, everything that I had built my dream on was built with a tragic flaw. And now I'm like, okay, well, let's just torch the shit and see what's left. And now, Rome is burning, and we'll see what's left. And there will be something left, and I will rise up and do it again.
Yeah. Phoenix out of the ashes.
Exactly. Well, it's so great to talk to you again, and I'm glad you're still smiling. And I know that hopefully soon that smile will be bigger and brighter, and more good things will be coming. I know that since I've cleared a lot of things out of my path, the opportunities that are coming in are more exciting and more infinite than ever. And I'm being more cautious about them, and I'm approaching them with more hesitation rather than exuberance, because I did all that most of my life and I got where I got. So now I want to go somewhere else. So I'm going to try something else.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, Erin, I know that we have a following of people that listen to this podcast that are going to be tickled you're back on for another episode. And I know now and again somebody asks me, how do I get a hold of that Erin? And I know that if you're listening, there's always a link in the episode featured to Erin's profile, which has information. But since you're here, why don't you tell us?
Yeah. So yeah, link to my email. And probably the best way to get in touch with me is just text me. Let me know what's going on.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, Erin, it's been a pleasure. Hopefully we'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. This has been another episode of the Healthy Living Podcast, brought to you by Willow Creek Springs. I'm your host, Joe Grumbine, wishing you a great day. We'll talk soon.